You're listening to 102.9 WFPRLP, Franklin Public Radio.
Is that all I need? Yep. Perfect. So we're good. All right. Good evening, everybody. I hope everybody's having a great summer. It's been roughly a month since we've seen each other last. This tonight being August 21st, 2024, Master Plan Committee full committee meeting. I gotta put my cheetahs on. It sucks I'm at this point. Tonight's meeting will be held at the Municipal Building, Town Council, second floor, at 355 East Central Street, time being 6:35. Note to residents, all citizens are welcome to attend public board and committee meetings in person. The meetings will also be live streamed by Franklin TV. Recordings of tonight's meetings are available on Franklin TV's Franklin Town Hall TV YouTube channel. And additionally, in an effort to maximize citizen engagement opportunities, citizens will be able to continue to participate remotely via phone or Zoom. A link to access tonight's meeting is on the agenda. You can copy and paste the URL into your browser, or our call-in number for tonight is 1-929-205-6099 and enter the meeting ID 889-4357-1506 and then press pound. Again, that number is 1-929-205-6099 and enter the meeting ID 889-4357-1506 and then press pound. All right, so the first thing on our agenda tonight are subcommittee reports. I'm going to start off with Janelle from Land Use and Zoning, please.
All right, our subcommittee met last Tuesday. We had a productive meeting. Brian Taberner joined us, so we went through all of the draft goals and objectives and implementation items. We reworded some things. I saw on the new implementation list those weren't picked up, but I suppose, that'll be a whole process. And our next meeting is planned for next Monday. And the agenda is pretty much dependent on what comes out of tonight for our next action steps.
Right.
So I'll get that out as soon as we're done here.
Perfect. Thank you, Janelle, for the update. Next, I'll go to Kobe, Community Services, Facilities, and Circulation.
Yeah, we met last, I believe it was Tuesday. Check that. And yeah, had a great meeting. We've lost Ken, so down to the three of us. But went through, revised based on feedback from this group, and some thoughts that we had still wanted to get to, particularly building out of the school language, the education language. So the part of that was me presenting that to the team virtually, and they're going to provide some thoughts that came out a little late, so I don't know if they've had a time before this meeting, but we have some updated language for us to work through based on the conversations that we've had. And the next big thing for us, which I think we're going to talk about in terms of getting out of the goals and objectives, is just making sure that now these really do get back to the departments for thorough review, especially ours, which are community services. We're giving the departments a whole bunch to do and think about, and we just want to make sure that they've all had time to properly go through them and provide feedback. We were able to incorporate some of the feedback from DPW into a lot of our pieces, but that's it for now, especially the school pieces. We should get that language to the schools.
Perfect. Thank you, Kobe. Now, next I'll go to Gino for sustainability.
We met actually just last night, so we were able to begin review of the updated combined list of goals and objectives. We thought generally it looks pretty good. We did raise some questions, which I guess we'll get to as we go through that tonight.
Thank you, Gino. Is Meg online?
I do not see Meg.
No, I'm seeing that.
Okay. She did send an email to me. Let's see.
Meg's sick. I don't think she was going to be on.
No, she
Okay.
said she wasn't feeling well. She did mention to me that she's going to be sending out an email to Open Space Rec, Natural Cultural Historical Resources Subcommittee with dates to meet in the upcoming week after she's feeling better. I do wish and hope that she feels better soon. With that, I'm going to shift over to, this is going to be kind of a discussion item I want to bring up with the full committee really quickly. With Kenneth Elmore stepping down as one of our members for various reasons, the Housing and Economic Development Subcommittee is down to 2 people. I have spoken with Rick, and he's kindly decided to take over the position of chair for that subcommittee. We still good with that?
Do the best I can.
Okay, but what I would like to do is ask the sitting members here if anybody would be willing and able to help Rick and Kobe, because right now it's really only down to just 2 people, to kind of help finish off, if they're available, the housing and economic development portion of that group. If anybody be willing to kind of fill in as a third person for that subcommittee. You don't have to let me know tonight. You can maybe email me as soon as you can, because I'd like to give them a little bit of help. Unfortunately, there's still portions, and we're going to talk about it a little bit tonight with Jill and Amy, about the remaining portions of the housing and economic development that need to be ironed out. And any help that we can give Rick and Kobe on this would be much appreciated. So, all right.
It's not even work. We have a blast. You'll be lucky to be on our team.
So there you go. Kobe left it open for everybody who was interested in helping him out. Please let me know, let him know, and let Rick know as soon as possible if you're capable of opening up your agenda a little bit more to help tweak the remainder of housing and economic development. All right. So there's no current report on housing and economic development yet. There will be. We'll get more detail on that as we go along. Okay. So the second thing on our agenda tonight is it's written down as approval of goals and objectives, but we're not actually going to go down that road in the sense that we're actually hoping, and I'm actually going to throw this over to Amy for just a minute, to continue on with our goals and objectives at a departmental level. This is kind of what Kobe and I were talking about at the council meeting the other day, is continuing that process of having the departments kind of fine-tune them, go through them, find out if they're realistic, even if they are capable of being implemented, and then give us feedback on them. Now that's going to take a little bit of time, as well as talk about the implementation portion of our plan. But one of the things before, if with respect to the committee, if you're willing to entertain, one thing is adding additional dates to our agenda. Reason being is that the implementation process and sending the goals and objectives out to the various departments is going to take a little bit more time. And in order to avoid rushing the process, I'd like to add in additional dates. Now, I was sitting here hashing out some dates on my computer earlier, and the dates I came up with that I'd like to add on, and with everyone's approval, we can go forward with this. And Amy and Jill and Jeff, again, I'd like your feedback on this as well as the whole committee. So the dates, just to let everyone know that I like to add on, and this is just for everyone's review, September 11th. Originally, it was going to be September 9th. We were going to give a draft presentation to the planning board, but due to other technical issues, that's got postponed. So September 11th, September 25th, and the reason these dates is because they coincide with off Wednesdays from the council, at least from what I can see on the calendar. So that's September 25th, October 2nd, October 30th, November 20th, that's only one day in November, and then December 11th, which is one day in December. And then the date in January, which would be the first meeting of the planning board to give a draft presentation to the planning board. And then, of course, whatever the first meeting of the month is in January, the council, we would give a draft presentation of the draft master plan to the council. That's basically, what do we have here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Six full meetings, and then the presentation in January for the planning board, and then the presentation for the council also in January. Does that seem a little?
I think the
Extended.
9/11 might be a joint budget
Joint budget.
meeting. I
Okay.
don't know what the time is yet, though, for that.
Let me look at the calendar.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's correct, Mel.
Tom mentioned it, but I know that we've been thinking about trying to get everybody together.
Gotcha.
And Erin, are you on the budget for the school committee?
No, but I remember that date, and
Okay.
I remember them talking about that date. I'm looking online to see if by chance they posted the time.
Yeah, I don't think-
Probably not yet. I don't know. But we should check with Jamie and Tom
Okay.
first, okay, before the 9/11, or maybe we can find out a time that, maybe we'll have an earlier time,
Maybe.
yeah.
Yeah. I was actually just going to pull up the town calendar.
And then two of the other dates you said, I think now overlap with the revised town council dates.
Oh, do they?
I believe October 30th and November 20th.
It said October 30th. Oh, did our 23rd date get moved to the 30th?
I believe so.
Okay.
Yeah.
So perhaps that actually works out better, because then we would have October 2nd and October 23rd.
Yeah, that would work for me.
Okay. Is there a conflict with November 20th? Unfortunately, that one date comes up simply because of the way the council meetings work. Because the council, we have 9 and 16 for October.
I have it,
November?
I'm
Sorry.
For October.
sorry, yeah, so October I think works. The November 20th that you suggested, I
Yes.
believe we just
Change that as well.
scheduled a council meeting then.
Okay. So I'll check on that. These dates, we can add them as we need them as well, too. So, but how does everyone feel with extending the process till the end of the year and then giving presentations in January? Amy, do you feel that's going to be enough time to complete the implementation / goals and objectives to the department's portion of all of this?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yeah, I do. I think that's plenty of time.
Okay.
Just to backtrack a little bit, I think that we need to set a determination of when we are going to get the implementation to the staff. I know that they are hoping for at least 3 weeks, 4 at the very most, to review it. So I'm kind of hoping when we know that deadline, that we can get it to them, and I can give them a heads up and get that into motion. And then from there, they'll come back with their changes, and I know the subcommittees will want to meet again to review it. So I'm fine with the dates. I just think that's the timeline we need to look at, is to get this stuff to them so that they have enough time.
Okay. So, September 11th won't work, so we're gonna have to look at a different date for that potentially. So-
Has any, if I could ask, has, I guess, how comfortable are the subcommittees at this point? Do they feel they're like, looking at this, I think it's moving along. Are we looking like that we're like 80% done? Like, with these to get them to the staff, or a lot more time, or, just not sure where everyone stands with wanting to get the draft to them.
Speaking for myself and at least my sense of others, 80% seems like, yeah, like they're definitely 80%. I mean, the goals and the language of the goals and objectives, I think, are at least at 80% for all the groups. At least that's my understanding. The question that becomes like this implementation, program. Is this the format that we're going to be putting it in? And then I actually don't think that like we're going to have that's not the meat of the where we're going to have our deliberations in terms of like how to fill in the implementation portions of this chart. So getting the language to that and for that I think we can mostly defer to the departments. It seems like what's most important for them to review is the actual language of the goals and objectives to see whether they're, reasonable and, in line with the mission, and just get general feedback on the goals and objectives. I think that's at least 80%, if not further. I mean, we're attempting to try to get them all finalized by today. I don't feel like fully comfortable with my two committees, but we're close. And I think that within the next, maybe it's even coming out of this meeting, they're ready to be shared with the department. Certainly by the next meeting, we should have pretty finalized to share with the department, and then I'd love to get their feedback and change as necessary. I think that's my sense of where people are at.
I agree.
No, and I agree with you, Kobe. I agree with you because I think you guys have done a lot with this. You've done a great job moving ahead with all this, and we definitely need to get that feedback. So I feel like the sooner we can get it to them, and it seems like, I don't know, September might be a hard month to meet, but that's okay if we can get it to them in sometime September, and we're just waiting for their feedback. We could have, we could still meet and discuss the rest of the plan, but I think we really need to iron out when we want all the subcommittees to have a final draft to get to the staff.
Well, since it shows here, I don't believe, and Mel, correct me, or Kobe, correct me if I'm wrong, the September 4th town council meeting hasn't moved. It's still the 4th. They're just adding the joint budget subcommittee for the 11th. Would it be too extreme to ask the membership to move a master plan meeting to the 5th, which would be the Thursday? Only because of the time. The way the schedule works out, it would push us out almost over 3 weeks until we have our next full meeting to discuss whether or not we've actually got the goals and objectives draft to the point where we could actually pass them out to the departments. So my thoughts were, in 2 weeks, everybody should be at least able to get their goals and objectives to a point that we can pass them out to the departments. They won't be.
So your anticipation is that the 5th would be a time for us to go through the goals and objectives as a group, agree on them as stands, and send them to the department for feedback? Yeah, Thursday's fine with me. Ask others. The other, option, if we can't make a date work, would be discuss them tonight, give each committee X weeks to meet again and finalize for individual sending of their goals and objectives to the departments.
Okay.
I prefer us coming together and then sending a unified, but just as an alternative.
No,
Put that out there.
I understand.
Glenn, just a correction, the ZBA has a meeting on September 5th.
Oh, of course.
I can't make it on the 5th either.
Okay,
Another
so
meeting.
the 5th is a tough date too. The only reason I was thinking the 5th was because the 3rd is just the day after
I
Labor
bet you're
Day.
taking the 5th.
So, I'm sorry?
I bet you're gonna take the 5th.
On this one? Yes. The only reason I suggested the 5th was because the 3rd is the day after Labor Day. So that might have been a tough time for people to do. Does the 3rd work for a meeting? Tuesday the 3rd?
It's fine here, yeah. And I'm just thinking of school-wise too, so school starts up for a majority
Yeah,
of us
everything
next
starts
week.
up that day. Pretty much.
For the most part, so it's preferred that it's the 3rd or the 5th from that perspective.
Does the 3rd work? Okay. In respect to Kobe's request in regards to the goals and objectives, I do agree, we should get at least some discussion on these goals and objectives tonight so that we can get them maybe even 90% done so that we can get even, Amy, what's keeping us from sending out to the departments what we currently have?
Nothing. If the subcommittees are comfortable with getting it out to the departments, as where they stand, and they want to have one more meeting and make some changes, they can do that as well. So it's really just up to the subcommittees. As soon as all of them can be satisfied to get it out to the staff, then we internally will make that work.
Okay. Sorry, I'm just making corrections to the calendar. All right. All right, so we'll come back to the dates. But as far as just going back to what I was talking about, the dates, is everyone okay with kind of extending the time frame out? I mean, there's obvious reasons for it, one of which is still finalizing the goals and objectives that we've been talking about and getting into the departments. The other reason is, and I'm going to actually come back to goals and objectives because I want to give Jill an opportunity to go into the implementation portion and give us your presentation and where you stand on this, and maybe you can also give us some feedback on the steps that would be appropriate to kind of finalize the draft portion of the goals and objectives. Jill?
Okay, sounds great. I'll see if I can share my screen here. Okay. Can everybody see that?
Could you make it a little bit bigger?
Yes, I can. I can.
Well, we have it in front of us, right?
We do.
Okay.
Should.
Zoom it up a bit. Jeff Maxutidis from Beta is here with us too. I'm going to have Jeff just give a little intro and overview. He and I have talked a few times in the last couple weeks, and just over about where we see things. And we would reiterate what Amy said. We think the committee has done a wonderful job of giving thought to this, putting information down, and really creating a solid document here that definitely has some fine tuning going forward. But the foundation that you've created is super. And I know you put a lot of time and thought into it. So Jeff, if you'd like to speak a little bit, and then we can go through it.
Sure. Yeah, like Jill said, yeah, it's. I think this is a great start, and a lot of effort has been put into this, and there's a lot of good. I think the goals are solid, and the objectives and some of the actions. So what we did was we made a pass through these and try to help refine some of them. So in some cases, there's some redundancies. And things were identified, and this is where the town staff it's going to be valuable for them to go through In some cases, they're doing some cases, all of some of the actions we're identifying to some degree. So some of them aren't new, and maybe just, maybe maintaining, those type of actions or expanding in some cases. So we try to help that along, a little bit. And then identify, responsibility of what, department or departments would lead that implementation of the mechanism, what's needed, such as funding and just a general time frame. So I think it is a process, and it takes a few rounds to go through. It's a good start. We provided some edits for you to review, at this point, and it's still a work in progress. We probably need some edits also, but yeah, I think that's where it's at right now. A couple things for discussion. We try not to identify a lot of new studies coming out here. In a couple of cases, and may have to, but we try to word it like evaluate. So in some cases, it's going to take some coordination or evaluation to determine, say, like locations where you're going to make sidewalk improvements, and that's where DPW comes in, right? So I think there's a little discussion that you'd be had about some of those, where it's actually, if we're going to state as an action these specific locations, are we sure about those, or do we need to discuss those with the various departments? Say sidewalks would be DPW first. So we're trying to move it along with those types of questions, comments, and edits. And I guess that's all I have for now.
Right, thanks, Jeff. Mr. Chairman, can I proceed?
Yes.
Okay. So I'll go through it, and I'm definitely happy to get feedback. And I know, Gino, you said your committee had some questions as a whole, and I'm sure other people do too. So I welcome hearing that, especially if you're seeing something like this for the first time. And we're not beholden to any certain structure. We just kind of wanted to put it in a way that you could see it more holistically, and then kind of, like Jeff said, see those redundancies, see the overlap in elements, and which is a good thing, and kind of key that out, and just continue to refine it so that it's a plan that is ready to go, and to make some changes that are sought out for the town. So just one sort of small thing in the mission statement and vision statement, the word pluralism and pluralistic is used, which is fine. It's a totally fine word. I just didn't know at what reading level that word is understood, and should it be defined, or should that concept, is that concept already kind of included in everything else that's said? So that's just, I guess, something to think about. We try to stay away from using, complicated words as it's, meant for the public. So, all right, into the action plan. One thing just to keep in mind, and this was where we'll get refined and consistent, is some sections included a goal, which is in the bold black we made, and then we retained all things that were considered objectives in blue. And then below that, what were more specific action items in the regular black font. Some sections just had, a list of objectives, which is fine, because we could turn those into action, we tried to make them actionable, or that would be the goal, or maybe you look back and say there's one or two overarching objectives below a goal. So that's kind of some stuff to work out, because every section was a little bit different, and there's no right or wrong way. Some plans just have goals and actions. Some have goals and then a mid-layer called purposes, strategies, objectives, and then actions. So however the committee feels, would be best suited for this plan is fine. Okay, so for this specific one, the private bus usage of Forge Park Station, was this referring to a shuttle, or does anybody know what that might have been referring to?
Yeah, thanks. agree that we could build that out. So this was a concept that had actually come to us that we like. This is, yeah. Could it be shuttle? Like there are Greyhounds, there are just private bus services that go to places that are more difficult to go to. So it's a possibility for it's such a big lot. And so this would be working with Mass DOT to essentially offer our large highway, adjacent lot for more regional, private bus routes.
Okay, so we can maybe clarify that a little more. That sounds
Yeah.
great.
Yeah, I think like in that case, I would try to be like you just said, be more specific about what the action is.
That's super. All right. Okay, so there's a few lines here that refer to public roadways and so forth. So we just felt like that needed some discussion, either for us to better understand or for it to be clarified, and maybe that's something that departments
Great.
would be able to help with.
Yep.
Okay.
Do we have access to these comments?
They're in the slides.
Oh, okay.
I don't, where?
Yeah, I can certainly make them available.
If you have,
They were in what you had shared with us. Thank you.
Jill, could you just mention the goal number or something?
Of course.
Because I
yes,
can't really read it, I'm sorry.
some
No problem.
Thank you, Mel. Yeah, they can
some members don't have. Some members aren't looking at the online version. They got
Yeah.
Understood.
paper.
Yeah, I have
So
paper and I have your screen and I
you can
can't
just
really.
highlight the specific
Sure.
objective.
Yeah, I was speaking about objective TC 3.5.
Okay.
That needed some clarification on public roadways. About
Thank you.
policies.
Thank you.
Yeah, sure. You're welcome.
Yeah.
Now moving on, under goal TC4, so still in the transportation circulation, there's an action. And this is kind of hits upon what Jeff talked about earlier, where we put explore opportunities. It's TC4.2E.
Yeah.
And there's some specific areas looked at as potential for public parking lots. So the question is, are these already identified in some way by a department or study, or would we need to build in an action to do a study to identify? So just wondering if where that is. Sometimes you have to build in the study, or as we'll go down further, building capacity. So there may be something that is assigned a responsibility to a position that's not yet developed or so forth, or a committee or a volunteer group. Anyway, so that's one overarching thing that as the departments look at this, the value will also be to key out where capacity might need to be built into the town to effectively carry out some actions, and to see where
Jill, just staying on that one. That's great. Can you give us an example? I think that's actually a good opportunity for it, of how you would word that. So it would need a study. Explore is an attempt to. I mean, whatever. I don't love study. Study has a whole bunch of things, and most of it takes more time than I would prefer. But explore could be talk to the person. Explore could be a full study. The thought is that it stays open, but you think that it should be more specific about hire a consulting group to.
Well, we try to stay away from that, but the reality of updating master plans is some of the recommendations are to do more planning, more targeted planning, specific planning for areas and so forth. So some wording may be, to do a due diligence study to develop the highest and best use for potential reuse for the parcels. That would be specific, specific directive. And that's in the comments, I believe.
Yes, it is.
Yeah, I mean that's like I think Jill, you hit the nail on the head. Due diligence. You mentioned opportunities for purchase, or lease. There's a lot of due diligence in there. to look at, and what the, the existing, conditions, feasibility is for those properties. So, in that one particular, you're kind of biting off a lot in that one task, but I think it does need a kind of a due diligence study, for that one.
Thank you. If you don't mind me commenting, I would say as far as who would be responsible for that, this is really kind of under the purview of the town administration as well as the town council in regards to even taking the opportunity to purchase any of these lots. So this is really kind of,
Yeah, I don't know, but in the same way that a lot of, like, the residential parking, it's DPCD that would take the lead on bringing it to the town council.
But I think the understanding of the study, though, is to identify the highest and best site to undertake that, and regardless of who owns it, because it might be a benefit, there may be a lot more benefit in doing, say, the Federated Church over another one. And so by having that study there, you have something to base the decision off when you go to whoever the appropriate entity is.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
makes sense. Okay.
Can we go back a bit to
Sure.
TC 1.3B
TC.
Yes.
regarding improving the SNET and connected trail systems?
Yes.
Yes.
I think I suggested adding the word improve. I'm not sure exactly how to word this, but there's an opportunity, extending it to Union Street is fantastic, but there's also an opportunity for if a section in Bellingham and Blackstone were improved, it provides a connection to the Blackstone River Greenway, which is highly improved in Blackstone, Uxbridge, and Millville, and continuing to get improved all the way from Worcester to Providence. That would be a fantastic connection if we could get that, but it just would need to be improved. And I think it's in our interest as well. It's not just a Bellingham and Blackstone issue, because would be a huge benefit to Franklin if we had access to that much longer trail that's already improved. So, that's something to consider for the committee, I suppose. So I just throw that out there.
Yeah, I took notes. SNET's a weird one because it overlaps with the open space and rec. Yeah.
Yeah, we talked about that at the sustainability committee, and the language that Mel ended up coming up with was about saying both ways. That way it's not specific. It gives clarity that this comment isn't solely to the section up to Cottage Street and extending it out that direction, but it could include elsewhere on the route. And recognizing that there's language already in here about regional aspects, it kind of ties in with that.
Yeah.
Okay. So, Gino, do you have access to that online, the online version? If you want to.
I've taken that note. That's my committee.
Okay.
Yeah.
If you want to make.
I can certainly send you any updated versions.
Amy?
Yeah, I was gonna go back to the other comment we were talking about, with the public parking,
Okay.
if we're done with that comment.
Okay. We all set with the SNET, Gino?
Yes.
TC 13B?
Yep.
All set? Okay, thanks. Kobe for writing that down. Okay, let's go back. Say that again, Amy?
Yeah, I was just gonna make a
Parking.
comment on, about the, diligence study to develop the highest and best use for potential reuse for parcels. Because the thing with the parking, it's not something we could do with CPC money. It might be more of working with, property owners on how we can offer public parking for them, like we do have an agreement over at Ferrara's over there, that lot, for the MBTA. So just something to consider with how we can work with the owners of, I don't know if it would be a purchase or a lease, is mentioned in the goal, but just something to consider.
Purchase, lease, and/or agreement.
Mhm.
I had an overarching question.
Go ahead.
Thank you, Amy. I'm writing that down. Overarching, as we, Jill, I want you to be able to continue to go through this, but as we have edits, right, so this document hasn't captured the latest of some of the committee changes. They're going to continue to change. We're going to have edits coming out of what you're saying right now. Maybe it's a question for Amy or Glenn. What is the document that's live, that's being edited, that we all see? Yeah.
If I may, through the chair,
Yes,
this is
Jill.
Jill. One suggestion, and Amy, I defer to you. My observation is the committee works very well on a shared document. So maybe after this meeting, I share with Amy the latest that we have, and I can go through and get the stuff from the subcommittee that I missed, or if the subcommittees want to just cross-reference that and add it back in with the next one. Because I know everybody's been kind of working on it, but there was a time to kind of capture it, and put it in the format and send it out. So if the committee and Amy thinks a new shared Google document would work, that's fine. If anybody has anything else, let me know.
Yeah, I mean, well, so when you first sent it to me, Jill, I did put it on the drive and shared it with the committee. So if the committee, and I'll defer to Glenn, can just work off the document on the drive, and as Jill just said, we'll provide an updated copy tomorrow and want to work on that, keep it that way, to get the latest and greatest, so we're ready to move forward.
Mm-hmm.
To clarify, your recommendation, Amy, is to use Franklin Draft Implementation Program 8/18/2024
As a
living document.
working document.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
I would agree with that. I think since
If the committee agrees, that's the way I would recommend doing that.
My only question would be whether there's some value in
keeping it separate.
in capturing its current state as a reference point, just making a direct copy of this and calling that the live. If there's some this was the point in time that Barrett reviewed and added comments. That's more
in other words, make a draft of the draft.
Yeah, I think there's some value in that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I would say the other option would be, if you want to make a copy of this, maybe any of the changes that are made, you highlight in red, and then I can take it to the shared document on the drive and update those on the drive. If the committees and subcommittees are more satisfied taking this themselves, highlight the changes you want made, and I can make the changes in the shared drive, if that works out better. So I'll defer to the committee on that.
Yeah, to work in Google, when you're in a Google Doc, if you work in suggesting mode, which I think is like editing, suggesting, and then something else, that is like a track changes mode. And at this stage, where some of the changes might be small and not super visible to the eye, it's kind of a nice way to work.
Amy, can I just request that you email the committee, that you create the document, the duplicate, and email the committee, this is the document, make your edits to it in suggestion mode.
Yes, I can do that. So that'll come out after tonight's meeting.
That's fine.
That's beautiful.
Great. Thank you, Amy.
All right.
Janelle?
Through the chair, Kobe, what you sent out earlier to the circulation group.
Yeah.
You've been working in the master plan goals and objectives summary as a working document. And
Yeah.
so has land use. We've
That's
also been
correct.
working in that one.
Yep. I see that.
Can I request that Barrett take these current updates for the subcommittees that have been working in that document and update? I guess that's my question is, are you asking the committees to now go in the implementation program and update? Or can we say, no, this is our working document that's live as of today? Can that be, can Barrett update that?
I thought about that, because you think that you've added enough content
Yeah.
that going in suggestion mode for all the news
Most of the comments that Jill has for land use are irrelevant because we've picked them up
Nice.
last week.
Okay. That's good, Janelle.
Yeah. No, I mean, it's good. It's like we're sort of working in parallel, right?
I thought about it. I think that we just need an answer, and I think that us doing the suggestions, like taking the ownership of translating the changes that we've made in the last week and making them on this document in suggestion mode is an efficient.
It's more, it definitely
path
seems more
forward.
efficient, yes.
And I would, I guess in my mind, I'm not filling in for new actions that have been created. I'm not filling in the elements, responsibilities, implementation mechanism, and timeline at this point. Which I think was another one of your questions.
Okay.
I think just stick with that, is my suggestion.
All right. It's extra work for the subcommittee
is.
chaers.
Yeah,
It is
yeah.
extra work.
Yeah.
Because a lot of work, and as I'm looking at your list.
It's free labor though, and they're not. But
Well, all right, I have to ask the question to Janelle. Much of the land use and zoning priorities that are under here, have they been reflected efficiently into the implementation document that Jill and Barry have created? Or how much more is missing that needs to be added?
So the goals are still very consistent in the overall objectives, but what we did was we underwent an exercise with one of our primary department implementers, which was Brian.
Mm-hmm.
And we said, well, if we word it like this is really the objective and these are the actions.
Mm-hmm.
So when Jill has comment of, they're totally valid comments, you need more detail, how does this get implemented? We've done that.
Mm-hmm.
So, it's like 90% there.
Mm.
Yeah.
It's just a matter of copying and pasting, but it's not just copying and pasting, it's so you're adding in more rows and so forth.
Jill?
Right. Janelle, I'm happy to do it. I appreciate the work you put in and liaising with Brian to get that, because that was really key. I have no problem cross-referencing and finding out what was new and adding it in.
Okay, great. I think when you see what we put together, it'll make a lot of sense.
Sure.
And-
Sure. And I know, everybody's time is stretched, and I appreciate the insight information that you were able to add locally with Brian, so we can handle the document work of it all.
Now,
No problem.
just for
All right.
clarification, Jill.
Yes.
And Amy, you have I guess we'll call it the live Excel spreadsheet
Yeah.
to see these changes?
Yes, I have access to that. Mhm.
Okay. Just wanted to make sure you had full access.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I check, and I'm like, oh man, they're still working on it.
Okay.
I was in like midnight last night. Every now and then I'll see like Amy pop in and be like, oh no, she sees that I'm working at midnight. No, okay, so that's great that you're willing to do that. That just means that I think that, like, I don't want to keep creating the same problem where multiple things are happening at the same time. Can we ask, can I put it on both Jill and Amy to work together to create the next document that then's presented to us as make your suggestions from here?
Yes, and my tomorrow is busy, so I could, by Friday sometime will be my goal.
That's fine.
Great.
That's fine.
That's good.
I think
Yeah.
what that
Friday.
will allow us to do, and that will give some of the subcommittees further time between now and what we've decided to be September 3rd, to actually fine tune things even further, so that on the 3rd, we will have an opportunity to actually go through these in some significant detail, come up with kind of not necessarily a voted on document, but just kind of a consensus across the board that we've got our goals and objectives to a point that we can pass them off to the department on the 3rd so that they can go for review. Now, Amy, you mentioned earlier that you were thinking at least 3 weeks for the departments to go through this?
Yes,
Okay,
yes.
so we're talking the majority of September.
That's correct.
So, looking back at the dates that we spoke about earlier, if September 3rd is the date that we come back on, September 25th was the next day. Would 22 days be enough?
Probably not.
Okay.
I think,
October 2nd.
what I'm hearing is they definitely want the full 3 weeks.
Okay. No, that's fine. I'm just
End of
curious.
September,
I had
beginning
a
of
sneaky
October is
suspicion.
what I would recommend.
So that would put us at October 2nd then. So October 2nd would be review department feedback and discuss.
Yeah,
Okay.
that would be great.
I said, don't have a September 25th meeting.
I'm sorry? That's actually a good point.
Do we, if I can just ask, I actually know that tomorrow there is a department head meeting. So it'd be a great time to give everybody an update that this is coming.
Mm-hmm.
If we meet on the 3rd,
Mm-hmm.
by the end of that week, by that Friday or Thursday, we can tell them that it's coming to them. And then comments would be due, not on the 2nd, it would have to be due like the week before.
Yep.
On our calendar in front of me. Let me see.
27th, 30th.
Right, 20.
So that we can, we'll do is we'll gather all the comments and put them into a spreadsheet to share with everybody. So, yeah, what do we think the deadline to get it back before the October 2nd meeting?
Well, the 27th, if they had notice and were given it the same week as the 3rd, that would be 3 weeks. That would be exactly 3
Okay.
weeks for them to do
Due
that.
back by September the 27th.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. Through the chair, are we ready to get back to the plan?
Yes, just 1 second.
Okay, sure.
Just making note. Okay, cool. All right, sorry, Jill, go right ahead.
No worries, thank you. So this next section, housing, and I now understand that, the committee maybe have not had the time or even lent itself to the expertise yet to really develop the action items. The goals
Yeah.
are probably in substance pretty good. So what I spoke with Amy about this last couple days is we would be willing, at Barrett Planning Group, we have some, very knowledgeable people on housing, how to help communities achieve their housing needs and so forth. And so my colleague Alexis said that she would be willing to do a Zoom call, meet with town staff and or if there's a housing expert and subcommittee member or members, to take some time to kind of go through, get some information and then better develop some actionable items to achieve the housing goals for Franklin. So mainly because this section, I think, has so much, potential that just may have not been able to be fully developed yet. You can let me know if you agree or not, or if anybody has any other ideas.
Just a second. I have to ask Amy one quick question. Amy, what's our budget? And is there any, is this at an additional, I don't mean to bring up money, but I have to ask it. At what additional expense? Amy? Or Jill? If you can answer that question. Amy doesn't seem to be.
Oh, sorry. What was the question?
Jill has offered additional services to help us kind of finalize the housing portion of the goals and objectives. Just a third person to kind of sit in with the Housing and Economic Development Subcommittee to think about finalizing those goals.
I mean, I'll have to defer to Brian. Is it for additional fees? I'll have to probably talk with Brian about that tomorrow.
Okay.
See if we can do that. I definitely think that, like I said, I think Brian and myself are also available to join in on the subcommittee meetings to assist a little better with that whenever the next meeting is scheduled. So I'll have to get back to you on that.
Okay.
Happy to chime in right now if you don't mind.
Good, Brian.
On that.
Yeah. Brian's here.
If only we could talk to Brian.
Didn't know he was there.
I didn't know he was there either.
I've been listening in. Yeah.
Okay.
So we do. I mean, I'm not sure exact dollar amounts. We have $5 or $10,000 left in the budget. Not a lot of money. I can talk to Jill about if what a couple of days' work of somebody could be, or things of that nature. But for one thing, that committee, the housing, is extremely important. It's a extremely important element, and it's worth any money we can put into it. We need to put into it. I'll be involved in any. Amy, make sure that I'm in on any of the meetings, because I just read through some of the housing stuff that you have there, and right off the bat, there's a lot we can change and make better. So it shouldn't be that big a deal getting a really good section, in my opinion. But we'll get it done. And as far as the money, we'll just talk with Beta about the small increase or whatever, and I can talk with her later.
Okay. I just want to be appropriate. I definitely don't want to overextend the courtesies. Kobe had a comment?
Just for what it's worth, I mean, great. If people want to help, that's great. I think this is reflective of a lack of meetings and change in leadership, not an inability to find language that matches the rest of the document. I think one meeting with the subcommittee, and you'll see this in a much better form. If you want to help, great. But if you're sort of putting sirens up that this language isn't as well developed as the rest, I'm not that scared of that.
No, I agree with you 100%, Kobe. It was just a matter of for an hour or so Zoom to get some clarity, and then drill down the language. Just a boost. No slight on anything by any means. It was just we're at a certain point in the project, and I know everybody wants to keep it going. So again, we're kind of here to support this project. It's your town's plan, and we're just here to support as we can.
I was going to shoot Rick my availability. We'll see if we get another member to get in. If we get it, just set up a calendar between our availability in the next week and a half, and just share that with both the planning board and Barrett. And if you guys are able to make it, great. Is that sufficient? Or are you thinking we should get one person in a room with one of your people and that should be the highest priority?
Nope, whatever you think is great.
All right, so if we schedule a subcommittee meeting and shoot it to you
can make
guys,
somebody available.
that would be great.
Okay, you Rick?
I'm good.
Okay.
Thank you, Kobe. Thank you, everyone.
All right, sorry, Jill, go ahead, move on to the.
No, appreciate it. Okay. Economic development, this also, I think, is in
Same committee, yeah.
pretty good shape. It's just a matter of, again, refining things that are stated in another section and deciding, do we repeat or do we acknowledge, make sure that they're all encompassing and strong in another section. I guess there was some clarity that we were looking for some of the objectives, only because the wording is wonderful, but if somebody lifts up the plan, to not know exactly how to carry something out specifically. So that's why some of the comments are in there to kind of prompt just developing the language to a little more detail. All right, land use. So this is, Janelle, what you said you have already worked through, which is amazing. Any remaining questions, Janelle or subcommittee, that you wanted to discuss?
I don't think so in terms of questions, but maybe I can give an example.
Yeah, sure.
To see if we can, and to just sort of outline what we've started putting together.
Sure.
Like one of the examples we had an objective about making Franklin a right to farm community, right?
Yes.
So we changed the objective language to say our true objective is to preserve the existence of farmland in Franklin.
Mhm.
And then we have an action item under there to explore making Franklin a right to farm community. Right? That's just an example of the kinds of
Yes.
adjustments we made throughout the whole land use section. In making it more specific, actionable, and trying to get at, why did we say this as part of land use? Oh, it's because of this. The other thing where you have noted a lot of items are, oh, should this be in housing, or should this be here, or should this be there, and in different sections. We recognized there was a lot of overlap, but where we adjusted the language, we tweaked it to be specific to land use, right? Different locations. We have objective to further the Franklin for All planning, but we've fleshed that out a little bit to say further Franklin for All planning by encouraging housing density in the downtown area and beyond. And then we have an action item of increased density in portions of general residential 4 and 5, right? So that's where we've started to be a little bit more specific. Add more 3 families by right? There's an action item that the town can then take forward. Consider cottage court applications in more zones. These are some specific things related to housing, but they're really specific to land use.
That's great.
And Jill, you'll be able to capture those changes sufficiently?
Yes, I believe so.
Okay. And the reason I ask is because since it's a working document on her end, I just wasn't certain if you were able to capture what's been changed other than going.
I believe so.
Okay.
I believe so. If I think I'm not able to, I will reach out to Amy to help me reach out to the right people.
Okay. I guess what I'm getting at is how are we going to know what's changed?
Well, I'm old school. I'm gonna print them out.
Okay. You gotta check. You gotta compare and contrast. Okay, that scares me. I get it.
She's a planner. She's got her dots and crayons.
Find and replace.
I get it.
It's pretty much all in the same order. We just added more detail.
Okay. Thank you, Jim. Appreciate that.
You're welcome. I'm a logistics person too, Glenn. I like to know how it's gonna be done, so I appreciate that.
I get it. I write lesson plans all day and make PowerPoint presentations, so I'm just always, what's particularly difficult is in my line of work with teaching is when you've got multiple instructors all working on the same plans, making their own changes, it's like, okay, we're all supposed to be on the same page. So having one working document is key to this discussion, which is why I definitely want to, as soon as possible, obviously the third being the next potential possibility, to have the implementation draft kind of be our working document, if that's fair. So after the third, we can pretty much consider the draft implementation plan as our working document that we're going to be making any other further tweaks to, so that we can kind of just let the Excel spreadsheets fall to the wayside as kind of our originals, and now we've got something working that we can all work off of. So, personally, I don't have a problem allowing chairs of the subcommittees to tweak the draft implementation program document in order to kind of get a lot of those finalized notes into the document in lieu of putting things in bubbles with suggestions. That kind of creates a lot of extra work for you and Amy.
It's not bubbles.
It's,
You just, you edit directly.
it isn't edit directly?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Thanks for the clarification.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well,
It's not the thought bubbles.
no.
Okay.
Yeah, suggesting mode is just the word for tracking changes in Google Docs, I think.
Sorry.
Janelle, thank you so much for giving examples of the changes that were made to make that section really comfortable. Natural, cultural, and historic resources. How are we feeling about that?
Okay, just if you want to make an edit.
Yep.
They're practicing making
Sorry.
suggestions.
More just less to show you, more just to say like, is that
This is the
sufficient? I think it is.
That-
I think you'd be satisfied with that.
So long as everyone's familiar with how to do that in Google, because like myself, Kobe just showed me something new. So, all right. Sorry, Joe. Go ahead.
No worries. We're in the natural, cultural, historic resources section. Again, this is one that had mostly objectives, where the wording, they were labeled as objectives, so we kind of looked through and, saw some as actionable, continue to archive and manage the town's historic records. That's an action item. Can also be an objective, but you're able to kind of, tag a responsibility to that and so forth. So we have some comments and questions about some either combining actions. So a little refinement maybe in the historic resources item or clarity. Yeah, there's just some that we just look like maybe could be woven into or combined. So I don't know.
So you're specifically talking about goal NCHR 3, preserve and protect community historic resources while respecting and planning future growth. You've got action item 1 and action item 2 kind of
Yes.
highlighted. Are you saying, in a sense, combine these two together into one more efficiently written action item? Is that what you're?
Yes, it's possible, yes.
Okay. Okay. Kobe?
Sorry, no. Just
Oh.
moving otherwise.
Okay, that's your
Really
question.
blank.
Okay. All right. I see that on the side. Meg, unfortunately, is not online tonight, but we'll make a
That's
note
okay.
to get that to her for review and.
And
do
I'll
recall-
check to see if she's made any updates as well. Well, this is the point where we can, start to drill down and, start to see where there might be some detail needed and then what's coming together. So it's all part of the process.
Mhm. So
And
you
also,
wrote-
is there any town departments that would be really helpful and knowledgeable of, I guess, Historic Commission, Conservation Commission? Anybody? Is there any town staff that would give insight to that, Brian or Amy?
Yes.
We currently have an
there is.
archivist.
We have, yeah, we have a conservation agent and a natural, as long, she's also the natural
Amy, I can't
resource.
quite hear what you're saying.
You can't hear me?
Nope, I can hear you, but I can't make out what you're saying. It's kind of soft.
Oh, sorry. We have a conservation agent, and she's also the natural resource manager, that could, take a look at these. So hopefully, I can reach out to her and, maybe the next subcommittee meeting, they can have her attend as well.
Okay, that sounds good.
And the historic
Jill?
resources, we have an archivist,
Yeah.
right? And so that would,
Yes.
there's a town staff person.
Yeah, we can have some of these run by different staff members and things like that. We'll take a look at it this week and see what we can come up with, okay?
All right, that's super. All right, open space and recreation, a lot of great stuff. The only one we have keyed out here is there's one saying provide a public park or playground within a comfortable walking distance of every neighborhood in Franklin. That's totally fine, but we were wondering if there's anything in the open space and recreation plan that looked at proximity to parks, and were there any recommendations for the future as to how the town may provide a park or public space. So that was just maybe an opportunity to look back and lean on the recent open space plan that's been done to see if that was addressed there. All right, sustainability. One question I think we had from here, and it was for an implementation mechanism, we have a sustainability coordinator. Is there currently a sustainability coordinator, or should there be an action item to create the position of a sustainability coordinator?
No, that could be an action item.
Great, okay. And that's we're seeing that a lot now in plans, that there's a lot of actions that where the capacity might be best suited for a sustainability coordinator, but they don't yet have one. So a lot of times that is being built in to develop that position so that several action items can then be better maybe carried out. And the one that we just had trouble filling was support Massachusetts Sustainable Development Principles by. Are there any specific actions, that we can put in?
Yes, we talked about that last night and came up
Okay.
with new wording. Let me find it. Oh, yeah. Comply with Massachusetts Sustainable Development Principles when reviewing bylaws and policies.
Okay.
We had a couple of other comments on this as well.
Mm-hmm.
Let's start at the beginning. Well, generally, some of the timeline issues, one question that arose is in defining immediate, medium-term, and long-term, some items like need to be initiated soon but may take a longer term. So some of those need to be clarified a bit. And rather, just saying longer term implies that we don't have to do anything right away, but that's not that's not our recommendation, is to take action relatively soon. Also, and this is a general comment throughout, where under implementation mechanism where it says grants, like here we had put in green communities grants where we knew there are a lot of other places where there are specific grants that could be identified rather than just a generic grants item.
Yeah.
Another comment on S3, goal S3, the fourth action item where promote sustainable landscape practices by adopting low-impact development. And in the, I think it was in the natural resources section, there was a similar item, but our intent here on landscaping practices was more than stormwater management. Low-impact development is associated with stormwater management only. So I think that wording needs to be adjusted as well. Maybe take that out or include it with, maybe say something like including but not limited to. Anyway, we can work on some different wording for that.
Okay. Thank you. One thing that Jeff and I also noticed was that we put in some of them for an implementation mechanism planning, but we're not sure that, Jeff, I don't know if you're still there, if you want to discuss that we wanted to kind of run by the committee, the implementation mechanisms, and if we needed to include the one of planning, or what your thoughts were.
Yeah, planning, I think we thought it needed some type of coordination or planning before you can actually implement it. So I don't know if we need that in there, but that we put it in some cases just to remind us that it would require some type of coordination before you actually implement that action.
Right, like study school attendance projections, so we have planning.
So I'm not sure that's quite right. I think we need to revisit that.
Yeah, I'm thinking maybe, because I did see planning in it several times, just not to be confused with the planning board, which I know
Right.
is board after it.
Right.
It might be something like coordination and kind of what Jeff just said. You might want to consider somehow using another word other than planning. But I agree with what Jeff is saying.
Okay. We can think about that, but like someone else said, it's earlier, I think maybe Kobe, it's more about getting on the left-hand column, getting that information refined to the point where you're happy with it, to get it to the departments and then back. Okay. Does anybody have anything else?
I do.
Yes.
Yeah, Brian.
Could we go back to economic development for a
Yes.
minute? Thank you. We didn't really spend much time on that one. I know that the committee, Ken led the efforts, and before everybody was told to go get, 6 goals at the most, or whatever we talked about, there were some good things in there that I thought should have been left. And I don't know if there's any, using the continuous changes to the spreadsheets and everything, adding, deleting. I don't know if there were
we saw that.
earlier versions saved, but it would be good to go back to that, because in my opinion, I think we need to address issues, for instance, manufacturing, the industrial zone property in town, and things of that nature. And I think adding a goal in that category would be very important, because I can think of a few objectives and actions that I'd like to see in there. One of the things relates to economic opportunity areas. I think it's time we actually took a look at upgrading our opportunity areas, if you will, and I really do think that that needs a little bit more attention. So I'm happy to work with the subcommittee, or just send in comments directly to Beta. It depends on what the committee would like. But I do think it would be nice to see what the committee had to begin with, if we can find that information. I went through this, or the previous version, and I didn't find it, it's gone, but I don't know if anybody had any saved versions from before. One of the things about using Google is, everybody's changing, and then you're like, well, I liked that better, and you're going back to it sometimes. Once you save the changes, it's
I'll look
hard
as
to-
well. I may have several versions.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because I do that committee did put a lot of hard work into it, and then they presented to the public the 6, which are great, but I think the last couple that were on there were just as important, so we'll take a look at it.
Yeah, through the chair. Brian, thanks for bringing that up, because I do recall at our last meeting, and it was a little while ago, and my memory is fading me on what the issue was, but I do recall there were some topics that I particularly brought up where I thought were really valid and really great points that I think just got left on the cutting room floor from going down to 6. And I think there was a real opportunity for us to include those action items, even within one of the 6 that are there. Again, I apologize that I don't remember what that idea was that I have, but it would be great to look. Kobe, you
About
remind.
adding specific sectors, including the clean energy sector.
That's right.
Remove some of the
That was it.
specific, attracting specific industries.
Thank you very much.
I am confident that we can restore all language
Kobe
and
has
improve upon all language by the next meeting.
He's got a young man.
Kobe has it.
He's got the young man.
And what are you saying here, Glenn? You saying I'm old then, or something?
I don't remember. Which actually brings me to a question. Would you be willing to help Rick and
I kind of saw a wink there. Yes, I will be happy to help on the housing. So include me in on
I'm gonna
that.
add you in
All right.
on our list?
You twisted my arm enough
Thanks,
there. All right.
Yay, Eric.
Rick, if you don't mind reaching out, and Kobe, to Eric, when you come up with a date, when hopefully you guys can meet, and then of course, Amy, Brian, and Jill and her mate from Barrett, to kind of get everyone together and kind of hash out
Yep.
the rest of these, hopefully prior to the 3rd.
Yeah, I just emailed you all my availability prior to the third.
response
Yeah.
You guys are good. That's why I love
Put
you
it-
guys so much.
Put Eric in there too.
Yep, I did. Yeah, put Eric in there. All right. Gino, I'm sorry, you still had questions?
No, that's
Okay.
it.
All right, Brian, you all set? You had any further questions? You're all set too? Amy, did you have any comments, questions, or anything else you wanted to throw in for Jill, or talk about any next steps? I mean, the 3rd's gonna be here faster than we know it, because the problem with the 3rd, as many of us are all very familiar with, is it's back to school for the kids, so everybody goes, I don't know why, I have 5 kids, and it's like a walk in the park, you just kick them out of bed and push them out the door and say, go, get out of here. No, I'm just kidding. I don't actually do that. In fact, my kids.
Do the same, Glenn.
Amy, anything?
No, I think that's fine. The only other thing I would just say, I know at the very beginning we were going on about dates.
Yep, I'm gonna come to that. I'm gonna come back to that.
Okay, you're gonna come to that.
I'm gonna come back to that.
All right, then. All right, yeah. Then I'm all set.
Okay, I'm gonna come back to that in just a minute. I wanted to go out to Zoom land and see if anyone who hasn't had an opportunity to speak would like to speak. Erin?
No, nothing from me, Glenn.
Nothing from you. Jen?
I have been listening in the whole time, but I have not really anything to add. Janelle really covered our subcommittee work very well. Thank you, Janelle.
Perfect. So that only leaves us with
Joe, is he still there?
Joe here still?
Yep.
Joe?
I'm still here. Yeah, I'm here.
Anything you want to add, comments, questions about the implementation plan, dates, or anything else?
No, I just have a question. If I wanted to possibly join in on Rick's committee, do I have to be appointed by the council on that, or is that just something that?
No, that's a subcommittee that I'd be happy to put you on.
Okay. I'll get back to you on that Monday.
Okay, yeah, let me know. We enjoy having the additional help, so.
Perfect.
All right, let's go back to dates. We want to nail down some dates. So,
Sorry, we're losing or we lost?
Who's
Jill?
doing this?
No, we didn't. I do have some other implementation.
Oh, sure. Go right ahead. Sorry.
Okay. On the overall structure of the implementation plan, this is great, and you did all our work for us, and that's great. And it looks clean, and I like the organization. All for it. Some thoughts. In no particular order, and they're kind of chicken scratch. Okay. Prioritization. Do you think that there's any use in saying one action's more important than another, or having some rating system, some column that?
Yes,
Right.
we often do put a prioritization. It could be, trying to think of the word, if it's,
Like high, low, medium, or whatever, you know.
or sometimes it might be word is impact. I'd have to see impact.
3 stars.
Yeah, it'd be like it's high, medium, low is usually what we do.
Okay. The other, so sort of on the category of like other possible columns, and so prioritization was one. Costs, like a high, low, medium cost. Is that
Yes.
a value?
Yes, we often do it, but and we talked about this at a previous meeting in terms of sort of dollar signs.
Right.
$1 sign to $4 signs. Also, some is like TBD, but not an estimated cost. Because
Yeah. No, one,
Yeah.
$4. Yeah, the dollar signs. The thought. Yeah.
So, sorry to hold you on
Yeah,
that
go
thought
ahead.
really quick, but in regards to the dollar sign idea, based on other master plans that you worked on with other communities, what would a dollar sign represent roughly, give or take? So, like for instance, $1 sign, medium cost impact. What it's how much are we talking roughly? A dollar sign is worth.
Not much anymore.
We usually do a range, so
Okay.
like, a $1 sign would be, 50,000 or, or less, something like that, but it's not equal. It's not said each dollar sign's worth 50,000. So the next range could be 50 to 200, or, we can discuss that, but,
Yeah.
then, over 500,000 or $1 million, would be $4 signs, something like that.
Okay, and I know that's something we can ultimately decide on at the end, but again, something that needs to be clearly stated in the legend, so people aren't like, oh wow, $4 signs. Oh, it's only $50,000. It's like no, it has to have some clear representation so that when they see it in the list, it's pretty well understood that this is a fairly expensive goal.
It's it's a range because, like Jill said, we can't get that specific because we don't know about the
no, we
design
can't.
detail at this point.
We can't. Sorry, Cody. Go ahead.
No, great. Okay, the elements column, love that as a concept, and and I like the visuals of it. Where, I guess my question is like, how comprehensive do we want to be in that, right? Like, a whole bunch could be sustainability. Also, what's the added help of, it being multiple elements? Because half of it is just saying what chapter it's in, what the overall title. Like, we had talked about the concept of pillars, or like, some through line concepts. That to me would be like a more added value than saying that this is just in multiple. I don't know. I just would be interested in your thoughts on that, as well as like how much you want us going in and saying like, well, this also relates to sustainability. Jill?
Yeah, I don't have any strong thoughts or feelings toward that. I think that's something that as a committee, you can kind of think about what would be best for this plan.
Yeah, I mean, like, we're looking at the economic development, and it's like, all right, they're all going to have the dollar sign that means economic development. Okay, that's telling, but we already know it's in the economic development section. If it was something like, if there was some through line where it's like, calling out how it related to like the overall theme, one of like 10 overall theme, 5 overall themes, that I could see of added value, or just like, you know, like a spicy symbol on a menu type thing, like, you know, one of the through lines that we all agreed upon is sustainability, and literally just marking the sustainability and not killing ourselves on like, does this relate to traffic? Like a little bit, I don't know, more how homes impacts traffic, you know.
Yeah, you might be onto something there with the pillar goals. That's something that we often put up top, like after the intro, sort of the intro to this section of the plan, was we can restate or state those pillar goals, and we can take a look and maybe even give those icons and use those. Was there 6 pillar goals?
Yes.
We could take a look at that and give that a shot to see how that flows through. One of the things that I think the goal of that column is to show, there's so many parts of these plans that are cross-cutting.
Yes.
But I think maybe the benefit of the column, if there's a way to do it, is to show, like you're seeing the one there under, I don't know if everybody can see it, like create a mixed-use neighborhood under goal ED3. And there's 4 icons there. So in a way that gives it strength, that this is going to benefit multiple facets of the town.
Right.
Yeah.
So my guess is showing how many pillar goals an item
Does something similar.
does something very similar, and if maybe that's a better approach for this plan. I think it's worth a shot at looking at.
Yeah, I'm not like freaking out about it, but it just seemed like, how do we actually make that as useful
Yeah.
as it can be? Sounds like we're on the same page. Okay, and then my only thoughts, they're not necessarily related to the implementation, but wondering, as we think about how to make this both more visually engaging and more useful, one of the thoughts was, opportunities for visuals around the goals and like around the recommendations. Visuals both around a specific recommendation if it needs it, or visuals of like a map that sort of shows a cross sector of the recommendations in their totality, or maybe it's a rendering of a downtown in line with some of the what is your capacity, if at all, for incorporating alternative visualizations of some of the recommendations, or a cross cut of the recommendation?
I think that's actually something the planning department could probably put together, though. Personally.
Great with me.
Amy?
I couldn't actually hear you. What were you asking? Speak into your mic a little bit more, sorry.
Sorry, yeah. Our ability / expectations, whether it be Beta and Barrett or the planning department, to incorporate a visualization of some of the recommendations.
Like a map.
One of them being a map similar to the one that I had presented, although obviously reflective of the group's goals, that is some way of visualizing how all of these incorporate with each other, and then on a smaller scale, if we wanted certain visuals around certain actions or recommendations, like whatever we want to add, this type of home, and you just like have a picture of that type of home. So sort of
Yeah,
two
I
different
guess
goals.
I'm at the point, I'm not really, we're not gonna redesign zoning. I mean, we have our action items and our objectives, that might change certain areas and parcels and something like that we wouldn't actually create a map to identify that. We do have GIS inside, in-house, that if you wanted to see some type of visuals, I think if you could write it out, and let us know and see if it kind of meets with the plan, and the committee can discuss that. I think it'd probably be not with the, I don't think it'd be in time for the implementation to go out to staff, but I think it'd be something that the committees can definitely discuss, has like such a, with examples and stuff.
Okay. Through the chair, just a thought to that, just to build off it. I love the idea, and maybe I'm almost even thinking of it's almost in its bucket of how can the town be communicating more effectively with the residents about what they're working on. And so maybe it's not even in a budget element within the master plan, but if there, to the extent that there's other budgets out there, to create some sort of interactive online tool. So if someone wants to, that starts to put some information onto this interactive tool about the master plan. So, for example, parking, we have some ideas and someone could see, and there's a hover location over the Federation Church, and they could click on that link and see, oh, that's what the master plan was thinking about. Or if they're thinking about sidewalks, they can be like, oh, they'll click on Washington and see, oh, there's some ideas that are happening in town to improve Washington. So even if it might not be able to happen within the time constraints that we have now, if it's a wider effort that the town's looking to better inform residents about it, I see a real great opportunity there.
I think, Eric, to me that sounds a lot like the story maps
Right.
that we have that you can find on the website in the GIS department.
Oh,
Check
great.
them out.
Look at that. Awesome.
And I think that would be a great idea to create a story map of what the master plan.
Yeah, that would be great. That's an extension of this.
Nothing like a good idea that's already implemented. So that's great.
But to put the master plan into one is it's going to take a lot. But
it is.
Sorry, I'm sidetracking the group. I do recognize that some of that's more back end. It just felt like, as we're starting to round out the, and really get into just like wordsmithing, I wanted to get a sense of what the final product would be looking like and whether we can get started on some of those pieces. But
Perfect.
I recognize that that's not the implementation plan.
All set?
Thank you.
All right. I'm going to give my 2 cents on the work that's been done so far. Jill, Beta Barrett, I particularly like, I'm a very visual person, and one of the things that I always try to incorporate into any one of my presentations are just enough information that has a visualization with it that can capture the eye and draw somebody in. I like the element icons. I think that's really keen. I like the color schemes with it. I'd like, ideally, as we kind of progress through this, if you could tweak one thing for me, is just the difference in, I know it's like a minor detail, but like I said, being a very visual person, it's something I picked up on. Can you change the colors differences between open space and recreation and sustainability? Only because the two colors are really, really close to each other.
Yep.
Just to give it some clear differentiation. In fact, and I get the reasoning behind green for sustainability, because that's maybe change open space and recreation to blue or something.
It's already two blues.
Along that lines.
Brown.
Economic development. Brown. Brown's a good color.
Brown.
There you go. And ideally, one of the things that would be keen, and we've spoken about this early on in the process, was the hope of taking this document and kind of making the elements their own sections, so that I could say, for all intents and purposes, take out the sustainability section of the master plan and pass it off to somebody and say, okay, this is what you have an interest in, sustainability and land use. Here's land use, here's sustainability. They're like sections that can be easily removed, and basically like packets that can be handed off to people in such a way that they're digestible and fairly easy to understand. I like what you've done with this. We're definitely on the right path. My only question will be, and this kind of goes back to what came up tonight, is by adding in these additional columns, how much more condensed is this really going to get? Do we really want to condense it any further by adding additional columns to it. What level of importance do these specific columns have that we want to add in? Because the only reason I bring it up is because it's just going to make this document that much less attractive, or how much more important. I'm not trying to make this.
It's going to be visuals. It's a
thing.
few things on the side. I'm not too worried about that. You put it in landscape mode for the final documents pages. Maybe in the actual sections, you only have the action language, and then you go to the end and you have all the goals and objectives in one place, and that's the build out of the implementation columns. And I think you can. I'm not too worried about that.
All right. Thank you. Okay, so spiraling back to dates, I do need approval from the committee, and Mel, I need you to take a vote if you could please, to approve additional dates. I think just for the purposes of moving forward, our discussion on the dates, I'd just like to get a general consensus before we take a vote on dates, on what we spoke about earlier, extending the draft presentations to January for the planning board and for the council. Is everyone, that's just a general question. We don't have to vote on those dates because they're not actually on the docket yet. Is everyone okay with extending it out to January, kind of adding that additional time frame in so that we can get through some of the important details that we need to get through? All right, everyone okay with that? All right, so as far as dates are concerned that I'd like to get approved tonight, the first one would be September 3rd, and the ultimate goal for that date would be to get approval of goals and objectives, ultimately with the objective of sending off to the departments for approval. The 25th was another date that came up, but ultimately, and Mel kind of said this a few minutes ago, that might not even be necessary, since they're going to have until the 27th to review them at the department level. So that would actually put us at October 2nd.
Right.
So with the committee's approval and a vote, I'd like somebody to make a motion to post the September 3rd and October 2nd
So moved.
dates.
Sorry.
Yeah,
Yeah.
go ahead.
Yeah, I guess I'd prefer more certainty as long as we can. So if we are able to
Add in October?
add in the
More.
October and November and even December, I would prefer that
Okay.
as long as.
And so long as everyone's okay with the dates tonight?
10-2 is in October.
9/3/10/2.
Yep.
That's
So
what I have
that's
right now.
September 3rd, October 2nd, October 23rd,
And then October 23rd.
10/23.
yep,
Yeah,
and November 20th, and December 11th.
but we weren't sure about November the 20th, were
20th.
we? Kobe, didn't you say that that was a council meeting?
I believe November 20th is a newly approved council meeting.
Okay. So that would push us to
It does mean the 27th is open.
the 27th?
28th is Thanksgiving.
Thanksgiving, yeah.
Yeah, that's why. 27th, that's why I didn't do 27th.
And December 4th is open.
Yeah, we could do December 4th. Let's do that.
10/23/12 to
Oops.
12/4.
But that skips November altogether.
That's what I have.
We did move the 9/6, or sorry, November 6th date.
The council did.
Council did. So that's open.
Oh, so we have 11/6.
11/6.
And that's,
But I
is
don't know.
that 2 weeks from the 23rd?
No. Oh, yeah, it's 2 weeks.
Okay.
So that would be November 6th and December 11th. Okay, so let's go back to the
Okay.
dates, and correct me if I'm wrong, Mel.
Yeah.
So,
You want me to read what I
sure,
have?
go ahead.
Okay, I have September 3rd, October 2nd, October 23rd, November 6th, and December 11th for for added meeting dates
For 2024.
for 2024.
You want to have a motion?
Did you say the last one was 12-4?
12,
12/11.
11.
So moved.
Second.
All right.
Okay, all in favor of adding the dates to our schedule? We will, Bruce,
Roll call.
roll call vote.
You need, yes.
Gino,
Yes.
Rick,
Yes.
Janelle,
Yes.
Eric,
Yes.
Jen,
Yes.
Joe,
Yes.
Erin,
Yes.
Mel, yes, Kobe,
Yes.
Glenn.
Yes.
Okay, unanimous.
Perfect. So we have a date. Now it's a month from, basically a month from today, almost a month and 1 day, and we should be in good shape. Before I bring it to the end, adjourning, Jill, do you have anything further that you may need from us before we close for the evening?
No, I just wanted to be clear that my plan is to have the revised version to Amy before going into this weekend. So if anybody, to maybe give everybody take a break for 48 hours or keep track of what you're changing. And then you'll have the new version to be working on. And that should give 10 days, I think, between Friday night and the 3rd. So hopefully that's enough for everybody to take another look at it and feel comfortable, for it to go to staff.
Great.
That's great, thank
Thank
you.
you, Jill.
That's perfect. Amy,
Yes.
any last?
No, I think this was a great meeting. It was very productive. I'm glad we were able to review everything, and like I said, we're here to help with any of the subcommittees that want our assistance. Please let us know, and we'll try our best to attend them and give feedback. And you'll probably be hearing from me a lot.
Perfect.
Check your emails.
Yes, everybody pay attention. Brian, anything? He might not be
You
here.
gotta wake them up.
I'm all set. Thank you very much.
Okay.
Great meeting. Yeah.
Number
Thank you,
4.
Brian.
Bruce?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Roll call vote. Bruce,
Yes.
Gino,
Yes.
Rick,
Yes.
Janelle,
Yes.
Eric,
Yes.
Jen,
Yes.
Joe,
Yes.
Erin.
Yes.
Yes. Clerk, yes. Vice Chair,
Yes.
Chair.
Yes.
Unanimous.
We are adjourned. Non-debatable. Have a good night, everybody. Thank you.